Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I am so glad that this bill includes significant funding for forest management and wildland firefighting, mitigation, and agricultural research. I want to quickly highlight a few of the provisions that will most benefit my constituents in Washington state. First, this bill makes a tremendous investment of $14 billion into hazardous fuel reduction, including $10 billion specifically set aside for the Wildland Urban Interface, or WUI. This is one of the largest investments ever made in wildfire mitigation. And hazardous fuels reduction, which includes mechanical thinning and prescribed burning, is desperately needed throughout the entire Western United States. Now, last year, a report from the Washington Department of Natural Resources identified 3 million acres of forest lands in my home state alone, nearly a quarter of which are in the Okanagan-Wenatchee National Forest in my district as in need of restoration. And through active restoration and thinning, we can make our forests more resilient to drought, climate change, and pestilence. Prescribed fire, the practice of setting planned low-intensity fires overseen by professionals who can control the conditions on the ground, turns out to be one of the best ways to protect our communities from wildfire and restore forest health. Prescribed fires burn low to the ground, removing combustible debris from the packed forest floors. And along with mechanical thinning, this is one of our best weapons in fighting catastrophic wildfires, yet it's been horribly underutilized. That's why I introduced the National Prescribed Fire Act, a bipartisan bicameral bill that endorses the use of prescribed fire as an essential science-based strategy of reducing hazardous fuels to mitigate the worst effects of wildfire. And that's why I work to include funding for prescribed fire along with mechanical thinning in this package. These practices will protect our forests. I'm especially glad that some of this will be dedicated to the WUI, the Wildland Urban Interface. Places like Tully and Leavenworth, which is the highest risk of wildfire in the Pacific Northwest, were undeveloped. These areas were undeveloped 25 years ago, and now there's people living right up against the forest at high risk. And as our population expands to the WUI, we need to protect those areas. Relatedly, I am also thrilled that this program includes $1 billion for the Wood Innovation Grants Program. I'm hopeful this funding could be used in support of a small diameter mill in Chelan County. As my colleagues and I discussed at a recent Conservation of Forestry subcommittee hearing, a major challenge for removing fuels from overcrowded forests is the loss of small sawmills throughout the country. So developing a small diameter sawmill in Chelan County presents a unique opportunity to protect our forests and create family wage jobs. There is substantial momentum here and here locally and regionally to invest in this work. And so I encourage the USDA to work with Congress to use that funding in this way. I also want to highlight the investments in agricultural research. Modern ag research and education facilities serve as the backbone of our nation's cutting edge ag and food research. But research facilities face high deferred maintenance costs. For example, at Washington State University, Wenatchee Tree Fruit Research and Extension Center in my district, an aging plant growth facility that's well past its usual lifespan does not provide adequate quality control for high-level plant science. A new facility there is desperately needed and would cost $6 to $7 million. That is why my colleagues, including Representatives Panetta, Adams, and Plaskett, and I prioritized including investments in next generation ag research in this package. Frankly, each dollar invested in ag research provides strong returns to the economy. Lastly, I want to highlight the historic investment this bill makes in the Legacy Roads and Trails program. This is funding to improve or decommission forest roads and trails in areas where infrastructure is deteriorating. It's unique because it prioritizes water quality and watershed health with the goal of protecting American rivers and streams, endangered fish, and community water systems with targeted local products. It is results-oriented and collaborative, and only over half of the money used for fish passage and culverts comes from external partners. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for including those, for protecting our forest lands, and for including these forest packages in this package. I yield back.